Hello and welcome to ReginaldESQ. I'm Underhook and this is my review of the British Tier 7 SPG, the Crusader SP. So is it any good? No, not in my opinion, it's not that good. Bear in mind, I am not a really experienced arty driver. This is my first arty line. And also, I was unable to get mastery in this tank. Class 1 was the best I could get. So there are obviously people out there doing better than me in it. But personally, I think it sucks, and I will explain in the review. Let's start. It has 350 hit points, which is average for a Tier 7 SPG artillery. The 350, the most goes to the German GW Panther with 360, and the least is the Lorraine with 340. So it's smack in the middle there. It weighs in at 19 tons, which is extremely light. The next lightest will be the American M12 with 27 tons, so it is very light. Which means that you don't want to ram anyone, and you want to avoid being rammed even by scouts, because they will do big damage to you. Speed wise, this tank, it says here 14 kilometers an hour in forward, which is correct, but it actually does 43 kilometers an hour in reverse. Now that's average for artillery. The slowest artillery are the Russians with 30 kilometers an hour as their top speed, and the fastest is the Lorraine with 60, so it's kind of average. Now, it is unusual though that it only does 14 in forward, but it does 43 in reverse. That's because this uses the chassis of the Crusader light tank, and this would normally be the front of the tank here, and the turret would be here. But what they've done is mounted the gun on the front, but the gun points out the back. So, for this SPG, this is the front of the tank, which would normally be the rear, which is why it goes faster in reverse. This is an advantage and a disadvantage. The disadvantage is that it's very slow in forward gear, and if you want to go anywhere forwards, it's hard. And that you have to drive it really to relocate anywhere or move quickly. You have to drive in reverse, which means your controls are reversed. It's very annoying, and in high pressure situations, I find I tend to forget and revert to what I know best, and I go the wrong way and I smash into things. So it is a bit of a problem there. It also can be an advantage though, if you, for example, are on top of a ridge, you say take a shot and you get spotted, you hit reverse and you can reverse back down the ridge very quickly. Normally in an arty you'd be very slowly reversing and people would be shooting at you. With this, when you reverse to pull back out of danger, it's very quick. The other thing is, if you're being chased by, say, a scout, you can run, you go fairly quick in reverse, they're chasing you. Once you're reloaded, you just stop and start aiming. They take their time because they think they're aiming at the back of the tank, that you're not pointing your gun at them, and you are, and you tend to get a free shot at them. So that's an advantage. But overall, I think it sucks. Now, the track traverse on this tank is very, very good at 32 degrees. The next best is the Lorraine at 30, and the worst would be the Russian Su-14-1 at 16. So the track traverse is very, very quick. Now, when you combine that with the fact that the turret traverse, I call it turret traverse, it's just the speed that the gun moves through its arc, is also the fastest at 15. The others sort of range, well, the Lorraine has 14.6, which is pretty close, but the others all range from 10.5 to sort of 12.5. So 15 is pretty good. When you combine that with the fast track traverse, this tank actually does pretty well in TD mode. So if you want to use it like a tank destroyer. And I'm just going to show you a few quick clips of me using it like a tank destroyer so you can get a bit of an idea of how good it is in that mode. Entering TD mode. Hitting the VK, and now due to the good reverse speed making our escape, we cop a hit on the way back from a T-44, but we're able to get behind a rock and get safe. Later in the same game, using my excellent camouflage to hide in the bush, just wait to get a shot and then try and run. Fortunately, I didn't run fast enough. Okay, decide to move down because I can't get any shots on these people here. I've now been spotted. Black Prince. And this is where the high reverse speed comes in handy. We do get hit, and even though my engine's been hit, I'm still going pretty good speed uphill and managed to make my escape. And now we come back for another shot. Whoops, that was 2 times, sorry. Managed to get another shot in, although only light damage on that shot.
Enemy armor is destroyed. One of our tracks is damaged.
So the track reverse here, not bad.
They're knocked out. We're immobilized.
Very frustrated they haven't been able to hit anything, so I decide stuff it. If I get 1 hit, it's better than nothing.
Critical hit.
And that's all she wrote.
Immobilized. We're done for. Everyone.
Due to the low trajectory of the shells, I decided to play this game as a TD. I can't even shoot over this hill. The shell trajectory is so bad, so I decided to just use the tank as a tank destroyer for the entire game. So the game ended fairly quickly, but I probably did as much damage, if not more, than I would have done anyway.
Critical hit. We're done for. Everyone get out.
And it was quicker. I see a friend in need, and I've had to relocate about 6 times. This is the stock gun on this tank. He's been tracked, which is nice.
Got him.
And then we run away down the hill again. So yeah, it works pretty well in TD mode. The view range of this tank is 370 meters, which is the best of, or the equal best. It shares that honour with the GW Panther. The signal range though is only 550 meters, which is the worst of all the tier 7s by a fair way. You do tend to rely on signal range more than view range in a arty. Did I say TD? I meant arty. Camouflage though is excellent on this tank. It is the best by far. As you can see, it has a very low profile, and yeah, it's hard to see. It's by far the best. The gun traverse, or the amount that the gun moves, is 30 degrees, which is on the upper side of average. The best though is the GW Panther with 52 degrees, which is unreal, and the worst is the Russians with only 8 degrees of traverse. So 30 degrees of traverse is pretty good. The gun depression has 5 degrees of gun depression, which is, I believe that's the best of any of the tier 7 arties, and that also helps it to do fairly well in TD mode, as you saw. The shell arc, the arc the shell travels in to get to its target in this tank, is very low. And that makes it very hard to get shots on a lot of tanks anywhere near buildings or even over a gentle hill. So I found that I needed to position this tank as high as I possibly could to maximize my choice of shots. The gun has a range of 1300 meters, which is good and is average for a tier 7 artillery. Reload time is the best of any of the tier 7 artilleries with 26.8 seconds, the next best being the Lorraine with 28.57, and the worst being the Russians with around 53 seconds reload. So the reload is very, very good. Aim time of 6.23 is also the best. So it reloads quickly and aims quickly. Or it's the equal best. The Lorraine also has 6.23 seconds, and the others max out at about 7.67 seconds for the Russians. So not that much difference. Now, the accuracy of this gun of 0.72 isn't great. It's about average, I guess, or maybe it's better than average. I mean, the GW Panther has about 6.7. The American is also 0.69, or has 0.69. The Lorraine is similar, 0.72. So you could say it's kind of average, but the Russians are terrible at 0.86. So it's not good, actually. Now, the splash radius is terrible at 3.15 meters and is the worst of any artillery. That said, most of the others are around the 3.6 to 4 meters of splash. However, the Russians are really good at 6 meters. But that, combined with the very, very, very poor statistics of the gun, which I'll go into now, really make this thing suck. So let's have a look at these guns. First of all, I'll talk about the top gun. It's probably the gun most people will use. So I told you how quickly it fires, rate of fire 2.14. Now, it has 70 mils of penetration, which is terrible, and does 900 damage, which is terrible. To give you an idea, that is the worst penetration of any Tier 7 arty, and is also the worst damage of any Tier 7 arty. And just to put this in perspective, 70 mils of penetration. The next worst is the French Lorraine at 90 mils of penetration. Oh no, sorry, I'll tell a lie. The next worst is the M12 and the GW Panther at 88 mils of penetration. So they only have 88 mils, which is 18 more, which does make quite a difference when you're talking HE. But they do damage of 1200 and 1250. So they have 18 more mils of penetration and do heaps more damage. The French Lorraine only does 950 damage, so it's only a bit more, but it has 90 mils of penetration. Now, the Russians have 102 mils of penetration and do 1850 damage. That's more than twice the damage we do, and they have 102 mils of penetration. And they have almost double the splash radius. So you have a low arc, which means you don't have many things you can actually shoot at. The accuracy isn't very good, so if you shoot at them, the chance of hitting isn't real good. You have to land within 3 meters of them to do any damage at all anyway, and even then it's unlikely you're going to do any damage because you only do 900 anyway. Tier 9 tanks, heavy tanks especially, and Tier 8 heavies, direct hits would average about 150 points of damage. And I have had direct hits on some TDs and tanks where I've done 0 damage or 4 points of damage. The only time you're ever going to do your 900 points of damage is if you hit a medium tank, a lightly armored medium tank in the side or in the back. And then you'll do your maximum damage. Other than that, you'll probably never do it. Or a light tank maybe, a scout tank, you'll do it. But that's about it. Because of the low arc, you're not hitting them on the top deck. You're hitting them in the side or the front, hopefully in the back. So, unlike the previous gun, this one, which had a high arc and tended to land on top. Now, I actually have more consistently better games using the stock gun, the gun off the previous tank, even against Tier 9s. Why? Because it tends to land on the top deck, and even though it only has 450 damage and 57 mils of penetration, it does good damage when it hits because it hits the top, the lightly armored part. 0.72 mils of 0.72 accuracy is worse than it was in the FV304. In FV304 it had 0.70 accuracy. Here it's 0.72, otherwise the stats are the same. So what they're doing is saying, oh, you can have the stock gun, but we're nerfing the accuracy on it because we don't want you to use it. Well, I used it and I had more fun with that gun than I did with this gun. Sorry if I was a bit depressing there. Alright, let's have a look in Tank Inspector and then get into some gameplay. I've got a game for you with the Top Gun, and I also have a game for you with the Barry Basic gun. As far as equipment goes, I have a camouflage net fitted, a gun rammer, and a gun laying drive to speed up the aiming and shell loading times. I have a small repair kit, large repair kit, first aid kit fitted, and my crew will probably all be fully trained. I will let you know in the individual games. Alright, here we are in Tank Inspector, looking at the Crusader SP. Let's first of all have a look at the gun arc. You can see here that it does 30 degrees, is a reasonable gun arc, so it can turn a fair bit without having to turn your tracks all the time to aim. The armor is obviously not good. It's based on the Crusader, which was a light tank, so this would be the rear of the Crusader and has 14mm of armor. Low down here we have 28 mils. Sides we have 28 mils, obviously the gun, and here you're basically shooting straight into the inside if you shoot at the back of it, which is 7 mils, and the whole top deck, a whole lot of this is 7 mils. So any HE shells or anything will obliterate the tank easily. There's no armor. Okay.
Roll out.
The map is Arctic region. It's a tier 9 match. We're in our tier 7 British artillery. I didn't really have any high up spots to go to, but this is not a bad map. You can stay sort of around here and still get pretty good shots. There's only 2 tier 9 tanks on each side, a bunch of tier 8s, and there's some tier 7s as well. So what I'm trying to do is initially just try and take a fluke shot and hopefully hit somebody on the way over. And it doesn't work, so I'll just speed this up until we encounter some tanks. Okay, here we are, now back to normal speed. So I'm basically going the section where there's usually a lot of brawling. So I fire past the tank, a little bit too far past, and you can see the shell actually hits right next to it anyway. You will see that the accuracy is quite poor, and shells hit a long way from where you aim quite often. But yeah, obviously this game will be one of my better games, and so the accuracy shouldn't be too bad. But it's not unusual for the shell to hit nowhere near the area. So the dots, the green dots when it's aimed, yay, should tell you that it should land within that area, somewhere within that area. But it's not uncommon for it to land totally outside that area altogether, and occasionally it doesn't even land anywhere on the screen, within the view of the screen. So yeah. So some people say with a gun with a low trajectory you should aim right at the back edge of the tank or just past the tank. I've sort of experimented with both. It depends, of course, whether you can get the shot or not. And I just found that this gun was so inaccurate that I maximised my chances of hitting when I aimed at the middle of the tank, because I just had a better chance of hitting because it was a better chance of actually being accurate. But if you aim just past them, the idea being that the low trajectory, it would, if it slightly undershoots, it'll still hit them, and if it overshoots, it'll still hit them because it's a low trajectory, so it should still clip them on the way through. So that is a good theory to aim at the back. I haven't really noticed much difference in my success. I think the gun's just too inaccurate to tell whether that idea works or not. My in a more accurate gun, it probably is definitely justified. We get a hit there though. And that's our first hit that we know of for the game. AMX 50 120, hopefully soft enough we can do a bit of damage to it. Waiting to reload. Oh, sorry, to re-aim. Reload, yep. I let it go. I shouldn't have let it go then. We actually lands well past where I aimed. Anyway, it manages to do a little bit of splash damage. So you can see this is not a bad spot to sit if you're aiming at these tanks. If you want to hit the tanks in this area. And if you've got some really good locations you'd like to tell me about, please feel free to let me know where the good spots are on the maps. So I have a chance to take out the enemy artillery. Always try and take them out if I spot them, because it means that they can't get me. So someone's hitting for 248, and we missed by a mile. No, that was our shell there. Okay, so we missed him by a little bit, but we did get 84 points of splash damage. If we had been in another tier 7 artillery, that would have killed him, I'm pretty sure, because 1, we would have had longer splash radius, and 2, we would have had a much higher damaging shell. So we let the shell go there, and close, got a bit of splash damage again. Did I mention my crew is 100% trained? I have, the commander has 6th sense, and the rest of the crew have, a couple of guys have camouflage and a couple of guys have repairs. I wouldn't recommend repairs for artillery, but I pinched them off another tank that I don't have anymore, so they already had repairs. Taking my time to aim at the T-29 because I was hoping one of these other tanks over here where I'm already aimed would reappear, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So we might as well have a shot at the T-29. Let it go. He moves back and our shell drops short anyway. Just waiting to reload. The other thing is because the speed of the shells on this TD are quite slow.
Critical hit.
So even though are only 350 meters range, it does take quite a while for the shell to get there. And if you're at very long range, it's very tough. So bear in mind the accuracy you're seeing is 350 meters. If we're at sort of, 1,000 meters, the accuracy becomes far worse, of course. Very frustrating play, at least on this map and this position. We've got targets to shoot at. If you're in a town, a predominantly town map or a very hilly map, I have found anyway that some games I only get 2 shots, and I have, especially with this gun, finished games with 0 damage, not infrequently, just because I can't get a shot, and when I finally do get a shot on this, which is why I finished off playing this with the stock gun. Much more enjoyable. You get a lot more hits. Do similar, if not more, damage on average per game anyway, even with higher tier tanks. So I think it would be better if the gun did big damage like most of the other TDs do.
Enemy vehicle destroyed.
You probably wouldn't be hitting as many, but at least when you hit, you'd get that rush of, wow, look how much damage I did to that guy, and, I one-shot him or something like that. You just don't get it with this gun. Occasionally, like if you hit a Chi-Ri or something in the side, if you hit a Chi-Ri in the front, it still won't do much, but if you hit him in the side or somebody like that, occasionally do the full 900 or even 950, and then, yeah, it's pretty good. But other than that, it's kind of disappointing, especially after having the FV304, which was such a good piece of artillery. So they have 3 tanks left, we have 6 tanks left, so it looks like we're definitely going to win, or you'd hope so. And there's 2 of their tanks down here. I let the shell go, hoping I'll run into it. And fortunately he drives forward again, straight into our shell. And that's the end of the show. So that was a Class 1 badge in this tank. As you can see, we hit quite a few tanks. Pretty good game, pretty good game. So we finished 1, 2, 3, 4th for XP, and probably about 3rd for damage. Let's go to the next screen. Which in a tier 9 game is pretty good because we're a tier 7 tank. So we fired 15 shots, 6 direct hits, 6 penetration, 6 splash damage. We did 2,296 damage, which is, like I say, is pretty good in this tank. And 7 damage, 2 destroyed. A little bit of assistance damage, probably tracked a few things. Credits, 34,000, 23,000 profit. There's absolutely no point in using premium shells in this tank because they only give you 5 more mils of penetration and a little bit more splash damage. Unless you've got endless supply of cash, you can do it, of course. And 858 raw XP was enough for Class 1.
Let's go.
So the map is Corellia, and here we are driving in reverse. I'm still inexperienced with this sort of arty where I don't have to be within 500 meters of my target. So I'm trying to get a spot as high as I can. I can't actually get in here, try as I might. Now I was going to show you a game with the stock gun because I did consistently better with the stock gun, but it's the same gun as on the FV304, so I figure if you want to see that gun, which you have to be within 500 meters to use, you can watch a game with the FV304. It's the same gun. The only thing is it's slightly less accurate when it's on this tank. So this time it looks like a better position. I can actually get up here. So yeah, with this gun, really want to be as high up as possible so that the hills and stuff don't worry, because the trajectory of the shells is very low. That's in my opinion anyway. I'm sure there's probably arty players out there who are really good arty players that may have a different opinion. This is a tier 7 game, so maximum tier is tier 7. I fire a shot there before it's aimed because it misses so badly when it's aimed anyway. Sometimes it's just worth it to shoot if it's your only target. So I'm hoping that because it's maximum tier 7 and there are only a few heavy tanks, we should be able to do some big damage in this game with a bit of luck if we hit. Firing away, and he stays still. Come on. Oh yeah, so 811, the side of the medium tank, the VK there. Mediums tend to have weak sides, so if we can get a side shot on them, that does do well. Frontal shots tend not to do too well. Generally speaking, if you're hitting a heavy tank with this gun, generally, if you're hitting him, especially if you hit him in the front, you'll tend to do, at this tier, around about, there you go, 396. That's about right on a KB1. You tend to do between 300 and 400 damage on a heavy tank, even a tier 5 heavy tank, which is pretty terrible. And like a tier 9 heavy tank, you might not do any damage, or you might do like 150. Tier 8, you might do, you know, 200 to 300, that sort of damage. Mediums, if you hit them in the front, it's similar. But if you can hit them in the side, let's see if we can get this Chi-Ri. Fire. 924, nice. So something like a Chi-Ri is very, very soft in the sides. We basically do maximum damage. So we fully penetrated the Chi-Ri there. And it's a tier 7 as well. I know from driving Japanese tanks it is terrible, because arty targets you straight away because they know you're very, very soft and they know they're going to do big damage to you. So shout out to all the Japanese tank drivers out there. It's very tough. So this seems to be quite a good location, because I can cover both sides of the battlefield. This is the map where you just defend. So we're just defending, the other team has to attack. So it's unlikely scouts are just going to come and get me. You see me there aiming at the front. Probably should have aimed at the back. Anyway, not bad damage. So the front of a T20, 339. Now most other artillery at 2.7 would laugh at that amount of damage. But I guess it does have a higher rate of fire, but even so, I don't think it makes up for the terrible lack of damage in penetration. AT2, fairly heavily armoured, even though it's only a tier 5 tank and we're a tier 7 artillery. Let's see if we can do big damage on it. I fired in front thinking he was going to continue over the ridge, but looking back on it, he's a very, very slow TD, and he probably was still just starting to come up that little hill. Enemy artillery. Somebody else gets it. Didn't have many hit points left anyway. Alright, he's on the ridge. Let's see if we can get him. We have reloaded, but I'm waiting for the aim to get a little bit better. I fire now just in case I thought he was going to move. We hit him in the side for 226. Tier 5 tank destroyer. That's pretty weak. But anyway, we hit him at least. As you can see there, that rock in front is blocking my shot. Really poor trajectory on the shells for this tank. I know I'm not going to do much damage to that TD, so I missed that TD. So I decided to go for this FV304. You can see the comet here coming up. Now, when I'm aiming at someone, you'll see I press T. So to let everyone know that I'm aiming at that tank, I try and do it all the time. Sometimes I don't do it very well. But this guy's spot. So the comet sees the FV304 is aiming for him, waiting for him to come around the corner. So you can see the little arrows on top there. That's me pressing the T key to tell him I'm aiming at the tank. So the comet cleverly just paused there and waited. So he was keeping him proximity spotted for me, but he didn't want to go around the corner and get hit. But because I told him I was aiming at it, he was able to say, okay, well, I'll just wait to see if you hit it. So that way you're helping your team out. So it's good to use the T key. and the F8 key as well, which I do use fairly often. So I'd take a cheeky shot. Last tank remaining. I do kill the tank, but also hit my own tank. But hey, I got to get some damage, and it was the last shot. So a nice game in the Crusader SP. Class 1 for that game. We also got Confederate and High Caliber, and we hit quite a few tanks, as you can see. On the next screen, we can see that we actually finished second for experience, and that just shows you how poor the earning potential is in these tanks for XP and credits in this artillery, especially, as I say, such a low damaging artillery. So we did 3,075 damage, which is the best I ever did in this tank. And we didn't finish top for XP. A tank that a Churchill that did 334 damage finished on top for XP. And these other guys, 1,000 and 1,800, weren't far away from me on XP. So yeah, pretty tough to win a living. So we fired 11 rounds, 7 direct hits, 7 penetrations, 2 splash damage. We did 3,075 damage, which, as I said, is the best I managed to do in this tank. And it was class 1. I couldn't get better than class 1. 8 tanks damaged, 2 destroyed, and a little bit of spotting damage there. So 40,000, pretty much 40,000 income. We did had to pay a little bit of a fine there for hitting our friendly tank at the end. It was a cheeky shot, but hey, I had to hit it. The ammunition cost is cheap, well, reasonably cheap if you use standard ammunition. So we made a bit of profit. But this is, you know, my best game ever, and I made 31,000. So it's not great. And the XP, really, when you consider what we did, 816 XP is not a lot. Yeah. No, it was a ×2 game, fortunately. But yeah, it's hard to earn XP. I guess Mastery would probably be around the 900, maybe 950 XP mark. Thank you for watching my review of the British Tier 7 Crusader 5.5-inch SP. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more reviews and gameplay, please subscribe to ReginaldESQ. Have fun.